Hi, welcome back to my decorating series. We're gonna go inside, go to the 15th floor, and continue with an art gallery, the West Wing. So, my original plan was to come in here and start dropping all of the possible art stuff that I ran into. And I really didn't have a direction for this particular wing of the art gallery, but the first few objects I put down really said contemporary slash modern. So although my original intention was to go ahead and come in here and put like paintings and statues and stuff like that, the first few things I came across made me go, you know what, let's do the contemporary modern. So I was looking at pop, I was looking at things that might be considered interesting sculptural pieces, things that could be practical, kind of creative, like that tub or the bike, but also could be considered an art piece depending on the context and who created it. So this was the stuff that I was aware of and I kind of was nervous about doing. So there's part of me that kind of was like thinking about waiting until the third gallery space, but it ended up working out that I started here. I'm kind of glad it did though, because like I said, I think it's going to be the hardest. Some of the other art stuff is really more traditional. And so I was kind of, like I said, nervous about going the more modern, contemporary, you know, kind of pushing the boundaries of what would have been considered traditional sculpture, painting, art. But it's also a lot of fun stuff. You can get away with doing some more, I don't know, interesting things as art gallery choices, such as that pumpkin or the motorcycle, and you know, just kind of having a little bit more fun, maybe a little bit more whimsy. There are some specific artists that I was thinking about when I pulled some of the pieces out. The mannequins in particular remind me of a very specific artist. You're going to have to forgive me because I can't remember everybody's names. I either recognize the spelling because I work in a library and I shelve a lot of books with a lot of artist names, so I don't have the pronunciations memorized. And then I also recognize a lot of stuff, but I don't always associate the two because of the context of how I interact with the names and the art on a regular basis. So I was definitely drawing some inspiration from some real life art pieces I know. I just don't happen to remember what they're called, or the names of the artists. And I know there's probably someone out there who's going to be upset that I don't, but I guess that's their right to have that opinion, I guess. But some of the choices, the wavy wall, I actually don't go with the waves. I go with a different texture in a bit, but it was an inspiration from an artist. Like I said, the mannequins were some of the, like the teacups, and the pumpkin reminded me of some other artists. And so I just decided to kind of go this really eclectic route. It made it a little tricky. Oh, I love that new spiral staircase. I'm sorry, I just have to take a moment to say, oh my gosh, I love that thing. I don't know if it's going to make sense to put it in here to anybody else, but I totally had to. Oh, and I did decide to try and look for the memory frame and the storybook frame to see if I needed to fill any wall space. And so instead of going through the picture first, I went to the menu to look through the collection of memories to see what options I had so I could pick beforehand, because it's a slog kind of clicking through each image on the frame itself. So that would be my advice if you are using either of these two frames, to pick the pieces you want them to be if you have specific like needs in mind. But yes, this room was really difficult to put together because it's not traditional, because it's a little more eclectic and odd. It made grouping things together a little difficult. Like I had to kind of figure out how to contextualize the pieces or make pieces feel like they went together. So as you can see, I started to group together like the pop art type things. I thought about using these crystals as like making it look like it was a sculpture itself with the three of them together. But I think I would have liked it better if I could have scooted them together more. I thought the Cruella de Vil stuff made sense being near the mannequins. I especially like the fact that the purple background one right there on the wall next to the mannequins looks like it's observing the mannequins. And so I felt almost like it's almost like the pieces went together, even though they're separate. I actually really like those ball lights that hang from the ceiling. I'm still tempted to go back and put them in the space, but they are very low, so I end up removing them, but I am still tempted to go back and put them in. And I thought about the pumpkin. I thought about that big clam, like being kind of sculptural things. There are some artists that work in really bright materials, really colorful things. And so that's the reason I pulled those out. But I did have to start getting really selective because it's an art gallery. I don't want things to be crowded. I want there to be space for if people were walking around to observe the art. So I did like the bike and that metal cat from Nightmare Before Christmas being together because they're both metal pieces. And so I thought they made sense as a group. And I originally had the manta rays up there, but later that will change. I also put the neon stuff together because I know that there is at least one or two artists out there working in neon, and that's where that inspiration came from. But it does take me ages to start messing with the floors and walls in earnest because I really wasn't sure how this room was going to start shaping up for quite a while. I really liked a lot of the tile. I liked the black and white. And, nope. Actually, I'm wrong. This is not where I find it. There it is. It's kind of the opposite of the floor, and it's still that black and white, but it's not as heavy feeling on the ceiling. And I really liked the way the floor and the ceiling ended up working together in that way. And I'm glad I continued to scroll because for a while there, I thought I was going to use kind of the mosaic tile stuff. And glad I didn't, because once I found that ceiling, I was like, oh my God, this is perfect. So now I'm just trying to figure out some spacing, deciding if I need the room to change size, and checking on the lighting, seeing about lighting. Now, I'm not planning on doing any windows in any of the gallery spaces. Since I do work around art, I know light is the enemy. So, and any light. So daylight, sunlight, outside light, definitely the enemy. So do not expect windows in any of my gallery spaces. Not to say windows don't exist in galleries, but just personal preference, which means there's lots of open wall space, and I struggle with it quite a bit. So I did shrink the room down because one of my problems was feeling like I should have stuff on all the walls, but also, like, how would you see the stuff if you were here observing the art, you know? So I think that's going to be my biggest struggle with these particular rooms, because the instinct I have is to fill up the space, and that's not necessary for spaces such as art galleries. So I really do fuss for a little bit with myself, trying to figure out how I'm going to live with empty space on the wall. And for people who do not struggle with that, you know, make an art gallery, have fun, because it seems like it would be a good space for you to decorate if you are not into filling every nook and cranny. So I think I finally figured out what I can eliminate, kind of things that I want to group together. I like the Vanellope and the Monsters Inc. together, and I decided to go with a pair of teacups because I wanted something kind of like a statue, but not a statue. I've got plenty of statues to put in the other rooms, and actually, as I work on this space, it starts to really inform the ideas I have for the other two rooms. I thought I might struggle with how to group kind of different art ideas, time periods, cultures, vibes together, and I think picking kind of the most difficult room first helped me, because as I scroll through looking for stuff in this room, I realize other things that I can put together. So it's really interesting to be working on 3 rooms that are essentially the same room, but thinking about how I could do it 3 different ways. So now I'm just blocking things out. Oh, I ended up not going the full only neons together route. I decided to make it a Mickey thing. So the Mickey mirror, the Mickey neon lamp, and then the wall neon. But it's also over there with the pop art that's Mickey and Minnie. I don't have any of the other pop art. It might have been fun to make more of a pop art corner, but I worked with what I had because, of course, that's what I have. So, oh, I had to leave the room and come back because I was experimenting with curtains to break up the space. I decide not to. I really do want to make sure there's room. Like if you were coming to view the art, you would have room to walk around. There would be room for groups. There'd be room for different people having different conversations and looking at things from different angles. And I'm not sure about the lighting I did in here. The pot lights really are the closest thing we have to what you might have in a gallery. I didn't really fuss too much about the spacing of them because I did have a struggle with this room, just kind of coming to terms with my own instincts, how these different pieces might work together, and just the spacing of it all. Oh, and then because I felt like I needed to fill space, I decided to go with a couple of interesting looking mirrors, because one of them is new from the 101 Dalmatian stuff. So, and I haven't used it before, so I thought it might be kind of fun to have mirrors on the opposite side of the Mickey stuff. But yeah, it ended up shaping up pretty good for me in the end, even though it was a struggle. And although I was kind of dreading it, I'm glad I got it done first because I think it helped inform the whole floor. Oh yeah, last minute fussing with the lighting. I felt like it needed something in the entryway. Because it always needs something, right? There's always one more piece. Oh, and fussing whether or not I needed a carpet. Spoiler alert, I don't go with one. All right, well, let's go inside and check it out. So, as I said during the process part, I was really kind of nervous about getting to the more modern and contemporary art type pieces. I knew that I was going to struggle with what to choose, how to group things, and struggle with overfilling the space. But in the end, I'm actually really glad that I started with it because it let me kind of play around with some weird stuff and make some interesting choices that probably won't be happening in the other spaces. Well, at least one of the other spaces, because we have modern, kind of contemporary. I feel like I'm gonna do a traditional type room, but I do like the fact that I got to do like some metal sculpture type things, some kind of abstract-y type things, pop art type things, art deco, the stained glass window. I like the fact that this room has black and white as the base for the most of it. I mean, the walls are a light blue, but they're kind of close to that white, light, bright feel. But then I also have really bright art pieces, the teacups, the stained glass, the pop art. It was an interesting balance of black and white and bright colors. And even though I have a feeling this is going to be my least favorite of the galleries, it's probably going to be that way because it was the most difficult conceptually. So it's out of my hair now. Like, I don't have to worry about it anymore. And working on this room really helped me think about the other two rooms and the direction I'm going to take them. So although this is kind of a challenging floor to be working on, I'm kind of excited to get to them now. That's it for today's decorating adventure. If you liked this video, a thumbs up is a great way to let me know, and a subscription will keep you up to date on my latest shenanigans. If you want to hang out with me live, I stream on YouTube and Twitch on Thursday evenings and middays on Sunday. I hope you have a lovely day, night, time, wherever you are, whenever you are. And I'll see you next time.